evidence of it working out, you become a little bit bolder and a little bit bolder and a little bit bolder, because you're like, okay, I've been through that before. I know what that looks like. And just figuring out what works for you, because your version of success, some people are like, well, you should do this. Well, that's not what I want to do. This is aligned with, what I want to do. I want to be honest. I want to empower people, because at the end of the day, if I learn something, I want to pass it on. Because even think about this historical day and VP Kamala Harris. I remember several years ago when I was at Hart House, there was a young girl who came up to me in tears, and she was crying, Miss Alicia, I can't do this. They say I can't do it because I'm a girl. And rather than say, don't you let them tell you that, I asked the question. I learned this as a leader or anybody. You learn to ask questions. I said, why can't you do it? And she stops and says, why can't I? And she says, okay. She goes away, and I will never forget this moment. So like a few weeks later, there was another young girl crying, and she's over there comforting her. And she said, it's okay, you can do it, da, da, da. And I didn't say anything. I looked back, and she looks back at me, and she winks like, I got it. Now I'm sharing it with her. And now if you think about this historical moment today, you have a frame of reference to share. Like, you can do it. But I just thought about that moment today when, that she just came up to me and she was in tears and just asking that one question, or that just empowered her.
But what I love about who you are and what you do, you're so introspective, and you also are so down to earth and kind and compassionate, and you are willing to share with people. I remember when you were working at the museum and how you were so passionate about making sure that young people had access. And that's been something that I've seen throughout even our time and hanging out, is you are so committed to making sure that people have access and that they can show up in any space that they choose to show up in. And so you talk in some of our conversations, you've talked about mindset. And so how have you been able to have this mindset that allows you to say to a little girl, hey, why can't you do this? What has been the catalyst for you to really be able to liberate others while you're still figuring it out at the same time?
It would come from my parents. So when I was growing up, my parents never said to me what I couldn't do. They would say to me, well, you want to do it? Well, figure out how to. And they would share resources and information. They would give me articles and books and say, read it and come back and we're going to talk about it. So for me, it's not a question of I can't. So what am I up against? What potential obstacles would I have? What would be the potential resistance? So if I use the museum, there would be people who had been in the nonprofit sector longer than me. That's a given. Mm-hmm. There may have been people who had, backgrounds more in education than me. They may have had a PhD. However, this is an aviation museum. There won't be someone with an aerospace or aviation a degree in aviation or have worked in the field. There won't be someone who has nonprofit experience too and has connections with a lot of the corporate organizations they want to work with. So those combinations is basically my parents like, find your uniqueness and you build across that, because all the other things you can start the conversation. I know you would think that X, Y, and Z, but here's where I stand out. And also in that, and not just advocating for K through 12 students. Anytime I'm at a table, I choose to, like when on the op-ed project, we were going through, mm-hmm. I was a part of the selection committee, and someone said, well, this person didn't have this and this and this. I said, no, but I know this person, and they will take this and run with it and expand X, Y, and Z. So they're able to have that opportunity and just giving, because we are so rigid about, and I understand qualifications and guidelines you want to follow, but there's always that person that is unique that can change the game if they're giving the opportunity. And too often we do, well, this person went to a historically Black college or university, or this person is from this side of the tracks, or this person is that. But if they have the wherewithal to do it, or the opportunity, it'd be like a game changer. And too often you discount that person. And for me, in many circles I've been in, as I remember, I was up for an opportunity. And I always remember this. It was between me and another person. I didn't get it. And I didn't know why. I just said, okay, I didn't get it. And someone said, they said, you had more in the community, but this person had more name recognition. And I thought, that goes against what you're looking for. And so I said, every time I'm in a room, no matter how long or temporary it may be, I'm going to say, let's give this person a chance. Let's interview this person that you're checking off because they don't meet whatever requirement, all the way down. And so that's what I think about. My parents just said to me, figure out what you're up against, and you disarm it by starting off with that. I know you think that I don't have this. However, this, as Steve Martin says, be so good they can't ignore you. Yeah.
Yes. That is phenomenal advice, because I love the fact that you are paying attention to your own uniqueness, but you're also doing this scan of the landscape that you're in to be able to disarm and counteract anything someone says, and use your uniqueness as an opportunity to be your platform. And I think that's what you've done so well, is you've been able to take not only your aerospace education and experience and this nonprofit experience, and how you've added social capital and building these relationships and networks. You do that with leadership too. That you've been able to use your leadership as a platform to elevate others. Servant leadership is something that's really important to you. Talk about what is it and why is that important for us to pay attention to, especially in this leadership vacuum that we've seen locally and in other parts of our country.
I will always give an example of something through a story. So I
love it.
This is a humbling moment, because anytime you're serving a community, you need to get feedback, and sometimes it's uncomfortable.
Yes.
So I was leading an initiative, and one of the schools was dropping off. They weren't engaged as much as they were. And one of my direct reports, the manager of the program, wasn't getting any feedback. So I decided to go and visit the school. So I go to visit the school, and I talk to the principal. And the principal looks at me, and you can see there was some resistance. Can I tell you the truth or not? And I said, well, tell me the truth. He said, well, listen, you guys come here and say that you have a grant and, work with us. I don't care about your grant. So what? We've been your partner for several years. However, your programs, they seem boring to us now. We have all these other companies coming in and they want to work with us. It's kind of boring. You need to step it up. And we have increased testing and all these things. We just can't come to your site for 5 times. So I was able to take a step back and I said, so what can we do going forward? And just realizing when you're going in and engage in a community, you think you have a solution. And I don't care if you really connect with that community. You can be of the same background. That doesn't mean you're connected to what they need. So don't use that as your leverage to say, I know everything. I know what they need. Have you been there? Have you asked? And so we took a step back and we realized we came up with a solution that would work going forward, and we would have more checkpoints. And so servant leadership is always checking in with your people. Do you have what you need? What do you need? Is this working for you? What resources do you need? Can I help you professionally develop? So do not assume that because you're of the same background, or even if you have a similar story or similar experiences, that you're always connected to the needs of the people. Check in constantly and be ready sometimes to hear that it's not working anymore. I'm disengaged. What can you do to step it up? And even in this, as we learn from COVID in different situations, we'll figure out the needs change, because people will not hear what you say if they are struggling with a need that's urgent right now. I don't care what service you're providing. I don't care if it's free. You are disconnected to what I need at this moment. And it's subject to change because things happen.
Exactly. And that's the lesson, I think, for many of us is we have to stay connected to people. We have to check in. I get irritated when some national event happens or something locally and people just dismiss how people are feeling. And instead of giving people the space to go, this hurts, people need opportunities to check in and to be heard and to feel like they matter and that they are valued. Alicia, you are awesome, and I'm so grateful for you and how you promote this book and have used it to change your life. How can people find you and get in touch with you? Because you're a speaker, and I want folks to tap into you and use you. So where can they find you?
So it's at Alicia, ALICIA Morgan.com. And if you search hashtag Alicia M Morgan or AM Morgan on any social media platforms, you should be able to find me.
I am so glad you said yes. Thank you for helping enlighten the audience about building their own social capital, because we all need relationships, and it's not just about networking. It's not just about the transaction. It's about how do we create transformational relationships that change our lives and ultimately change our world. And so, Alicia, thank you for saying yes. This is another episode of the Tapestry Podcast. I am Dr. Francois Booker Drew, your host, and you can find me at drfrancois.com or email me at info@drfrancois.com. Thank you for another wonderful episode. We'll see you next time.